Welcome everyone. Today, we're going to be discussing the Grand Seiko Hodinkee collaboration. The secret's out. Grand Seiko is no longer the underdog in the luxury watch world. Everybody now knows that if you want impeccable finishing at an affordable price relative to luxury pieces, then you go Grand Seiko. Zaratsu polishing, even down to the hands and the indices, you will see the amount of attention to detail the watchmakers put into these pieces. This is why Grand Seiko is extremely popular now in 2021. Now on the surface you may not notice this, but this watch is actually extremely controversial. And it actually has to do with the collaboration. Grand Seiko collaborated with Hodinkee, and when they did this, I sort of thought of something quite interesting. Growing up, my parents always told me, you become who you surround yourself with. Eventually, their personalities and everything will reflect on you if you're friends with them. And I feel like this is the same thing with this collaboration. You see, people either love or hate Hodinkee. And at this point, for the people who hate Hodinkee, it doesn't matter how good the watch is. If Grand Seiko associate themselves with that publication, of course the people who hate Hodinkee won't like this piece. Which is why I don't want to dwell too much on the collaboration itself. I just want to assess the watch as it is. So I have handled the SBGM 221, which is the icon, the OG if you will. And that watch was close to perfection, a little bit thick, and there was a few problems with it. This is essentially the same watch, but there's minor differences that to Grand Seiko collectors, it's actually a big deal. Let's start off with the bracelet. I have no idea who designed this, and I'm pretty disappointed that it came from Hodinkee because that means it's enthusiast. Why is the bracelet fully brushed? If the watch has brushed and polished surfaces, they need to match it. With this bracelet, it looks like an afterthought. It looks like a bracelet that doesn't belong to the watch and somebody just picked it up from eBay. I'm quite disappointed with it, although it is quite comfortable. Now, of course, I'm gonna respect the fact that this isn't my watch, so I'm not gonna remove the bracelet. But I already know if you put a chocolate brown strap on it, or let's say a taupe suede strap, it would look absolutely stunning. And when you remove the bracelet, as Jean-Claude Beaver once said, then the face of the watch really shines. Then you'll start to notice how beautiful this blue dial actually is. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the press kit, I wasn't too impressed. But when I saw it in person, I was very surprised. It's such a beautiful blue dial. Let's talk about the dial for a second because after all, that is the most important part about this collaboration. This watch has a beautiful blue dial. One of the best blue dials that I've handled personally, and I've handled what the industry considers the best. The Patek 5711, the Vacheron Overseas, the AP Royal Oak 15202, and the FP Journe Chronometre Blue. And I can tell you right now, this blue dial is equally as beautiful and well finished. Personally, I do like the matte color, but I know a lot of people don't, so keep that in mind. This has zero sunburst and zero shine to it. I will say, in terms of color and the execution, Grand Seiko nailed this one. The matte color doesn't look cheap as matte colors tend to look, but it does have a very beautiful color to it, and Grand Seiko did a great job. Now for the hardcore Grand Seiko collectors out there, there's a few things that doesn't really matter to most, but I wanted to point out a few differences between this one and the SBGM 221, the original. If you look at the font on the GMT numerals, it is different. They used a different typeface and it looks quite stunning and very refined. Obviously the gray accents contrast really well with the blue, and that is just a color choice obviously that they had to do. Finally, one big difference is in the hands. You'll notice that this has brushed hands. Personally, I'm a big fan of the brushed center and polished sides in the hands. You see, when these hands hit the light, you'll see an effect that you can't really see with any other watch. Because the center is brushed and the sides are polished, when the light hits it, it only hits the polished parts. It gives this sort of light ray effect to it, kind of giving it a luminous look to it that is very hard to explain, but it looks absolutely stunning and it makes these polishing kind of dance in the light, which is actually quite satisfying to look at. Now, similar to the original, this watch comes in at 39.5mm by 13.7mm thick. Yes, that is quite thick for what is a casual watch, but on my 6.5-inch wrist, I found it quite comfortable. And even though I was complaining about the bracelet, it makes it even more comfortable, and it is a size of 19mm. Now, the movement powering this piece is the 9S66 caliber, which is tested in 6 different positions, which is one more than the COSC qualifications, and it gives you about 72 hours of power reserve, minus 3 to plus 5 seconds a day of accuracy. This is a GMT caliber as well, and it is fully automatic. Overall, an absolute workhorse and a fantastic movement from Grand Seiko if you're looking for a fully mechanical watch and not a spring drive. So, at first, I wasn't a big fan of this watch, and it has nothing to do with Hodinkee because I actually like Hodinkee. Even though there's a lot of things that they do I don't agree with, as a journalist, as a publication, they do some great work. The one thing I didn't like is, it looked kind of boring. But it's only when I got it in the metal that I started to understand that it is actually a fantastic piece. I highly recommend this to anyone. I don't like the bracelet, I would change it immediately. But if this was my watch and I had it on a suede taupe strap, I think it would be one of my favorites in my arsenal. I do highly recommend this piece. It is limited to only 500 pieces, but they are still available, and this specific one did come from exquisitetimepieces.com. Guys, big shout out to Exquisite Timepieces. If you guys are interested in any Grand Seiko, make sure you hit them up. They are an authorized dealer for Grand Seiko, alongside a lot of incredible brands like Omega, Blancpain, Breguet, Laurent Ferrier, and many more. So make sure you check them out when you're looking for your next luxury piece, and let them know that I sent you. I have been working very closely with Exquisite Timepieces for a very long time now. So if you do mention that you heard about them from Watch Collecting Strategy or that I sent you, they're gonna hook you up over there. So if you're considering anything, make sure you let them know. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please add in the comment section below what you think about this watch. And as always, I will see you in the next one.